disciples was going to betray him, and he was going to about to identify who that person was. The disciples were obviously would have been stunned, perhaps caught off guard, and a little perplexed at the whole idea that someone amongst that close-knit group would actually betray that, and how would Jesus know that? There might have not been any indication from Judas that he would do such a thing, or anyone would do such a thing for that matter. And so for Jesus to have known that might have also been something that might have been a little curious about. Well, how in the world would he know that? And we are reminded that Jesus knows our hearts. He knows exactly where our hearts are. He knows what we're thinking. He knows why we do what we do, and all those types of things. Of course, now the disciples, they wouldn't have known that, and neither would we. If we were in the room, we wouldn't have known it either. We might have had that same perplexed, kind of confused, caught off guard look, going, wow, man, is it going to be really me? Who is it? Or looking around going, no, it can't be me, it must be you. So I would never do such a thing. And so in their anxiety to try to determine who it was, we found that Peter would talk to John because John was close to Jesus. He was, again, we talked about in that day, in that culture, they didn't have high tables and chairs like we have. Not that they didn't exist, but in the common house, there was a table low to the ground that they would sit around Indian style, or in this, what they're doing now, is kind of reclining back. And so Jesus was and John were very close to one another, to where John could kind of lean into Jesus and whisper in his ear. And he went and he asked who it is. And then Jesus does something and tells John, it's the person who I give the sop, which was a piece of bread dipped in some kind of a sauce. It was a thing of honor that the host would do to a guest. And so it wasn't uncharacteristic, something that wouldn't happen. And then so he does that, he dips that sop into the sauce, and he gives it to Judas. And so in the disciples' mind might have been very easily thinking that, okay, Judas is going to be honored tonight for whatever reason. And at that point, where we left off on verse 27, he says that after the sop, Satan entered into Judas. Then Jesus said unto him, that thou doest, do quickly. And again, they're not disciples, not really sure what's going on here. Maybe had different ideas as to what was taking place. So let's pray and we'll get started this evening. Father, again, we thank you for meeting with us. We thank you for this time that we can gather together as one. And as we open up your word, knit us together as one in our hearts and things of God, that we might be conformed to the image of Jesus together on this journey. In his name we pray. Amen. So in verse 28 now it says, now no man at the table knew for what intent he spake this unto him. So again, they hear the exchange between John and Jesus. They didn't realize what it was that Judas was going to do, because they didn't. John knew, because Jesus told him that the guy I did this and I give this to, that's the one that's going to betray me. So John knew, but no one else did. And so they were kind of maybe completely unaware that what was going on. Verse 29 clarifies that. It says, for some of them thought, because Judas had the bag, that Jesus had said unto him, buy those things that we have need of against the feast, or that he should give something to the poor. So in their mind, the disciples' mind, they were thought that, okay, maybe Jesus was sending out Judas because, again, this is preparing for the Passover feast. So maybe he's sending him out to get what we need for that. Or maybe he says, okay, we need to go and give something to the poor. They were completely deceived. They misjudged Judas's character, and they looked upon this as perhaps that Judas was doing something good. And of course, again, they did not see Judas's heart, but Jesus did. Jesus knew. And verse 30 says, then he having received the sop, immediately went out. It was night. Now, we don't want to miss the picture and the illustration here. Jesus is the light. When he's with the disciples, he's always giving light. When we're around Jesus, we're always in the light. We're always privy to the light. We can always see. Our direction is clear, so he's in the light. Now, on his own, Judas' own choice, Judas could have very easily said, when Jesus said, go, what you're going to do so quickly, Judas could have said, I changed my mind, I want to do it. But he went out, and he immediately went out when the sop was given to him. It's very possible that because as the sop was given to him, Satan entered into him. Judas knew exactly what he was going to do. And how about this? If you're thinking about Judas, do you think he would have been very comfortable around Jesus? I don't either. Not at all. Because, again, the struggle, he's in the very presence of the truth. And he knows his heart is not into what he's doing. Whatever he was doing around the disciples, what his thoughts about Jesus, whatever, he was not the kind of person who obviously, he was not on Jesus' side. So there was more than likely always this tension between them. Even though the other disciples might not have picked up on it. It's hard for me to believe that he would have been very comfortable around Jesus, because Jesus was always doing things against Judas' own heart. And isn't that kind of the way we are as well? When God is trying to show us something, perhaps he's trying to reveal a sin that we have in our own hearts, and we're around the truth, how comfortable are we? I know I'm not very comfortable. I'm kind of like Judas. I want to get away. So the first opportunity I have, I'm getting out of there, man. I don't want to be around that, because it's starting to make me feel uncomfortable, because the light is exposing my darkness, and I don't want anybody to see my darkness. And maybe that's why Judas, when he was like, man, oh man, first he said, one of you is going to betray me. Now he identified me. I got to get out of here, because these guys are going to lynch me. Maybe that was going through his mind. All that time he spent, and it came down to that. And notice, it was his choice. And again, that Judas leaves the light and goes into the darkness. The pull of sin gripped Judas' heart so greatly that he left the light of Jesus and went into the darkness. John writes about that. We've been there before, especially when we were studying through 1 John. So we visited this before. But in 1 John chapter 2, verses 18 and 19, John wrote this: little children, it is the last time, as ye have heard that the Antichrist shall come, even now there are many Antichrists. Judas would kind of fit into that mold. Whereby we know that it is the last time. They went out from us. Who went out from us? The Antichrists went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would have no doubt have continued with us. But they went out that they might be made manifest that they were not all of us. This is the kind of thing that Judas, he's talking about with Judas. Judas was amongst them. He followed them around. He was with them at all the things, he heard all the teaching. He was with them physically. But he wound up leaving them. He went from the light into the darkness of the world. And unfortunately, in Judas' case, where there's no indication he ever came back, there's no indication from Scripture that Judas ever repented and turned to Jesus. So he went out into the darkness for all eternity. We know that he grieved when he got the money from the Pharisees after he betrayed Jesus. I believe that his soul was so troubled, and that he was in such despair that he turns around and goes back in the temple and said, "Look, this ain't right, man. This man's blood is innocent. Take your money back." And the Pharisees said, "Oh no, we don't want anything to do with that, because that's blood money. Well, we don't want that. You keep it." And Judas didn't want it. But that doesn't mean he repented. It was kind of like Pharaoh of the Old Testament. Pharaoh, he tried to stand up against God. It didn't work, did it? He called all his people in. All his sorcerers and magicians and so-called wise men. And they could do some of the very things that Moses was doing. Moses threw his rod down and it became a serpent. Pharaoh had two of his people come in. They threw their rods down. What happened? Same thing. So, okay, no big deal, Moses. That's nothing. Well, wait a minute now. Your rod just ate my two serpents. Oh, that's different. That ain't cool. So God was trying to get through to Pharaoh, but Pharaoh would have none of it. So he even got to the point that said, okay, look, you win, Moses. Take your people. Go, man. Tell your God I'm sorry. But did he ever really repent? No, he didn't. We know that because after they left, what did he do? Went right after them. And it costed him his life. And the life of his entire army. Swallowed up in the Red Sea. No opportunity to really repent. That's kind of where we find Judas. He goes so deep into the darkness of his own soul. Satan enters in, carries him out. He can't. Again, remember what Paul wrote, that when God turns one over to a reprobate mind, that's it. They're done. That's not where any of us want to be. And your loved ones, it's not where you want them to be. Because that's the point of no return. And Judas, there's no indication he ever repented. And we know from Scripture that he went out in such despair, knowing that he betrayed someone who was very much innocent. And he hung himself. That was the result. That's the only way he could cope with the problem. And now, from all indications, for eternity, he's in hell. And will one day wind up in the lake of fire. How sad. Verse 31 says, therefore, when he was gone out, speaking of Judas, Jesus said, now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. Again, Judas went out willfully. And Jesus says, now, the time has come. Now is the time that I, the Son of Man, will be glorified. He's looking ahead. He's looking towards his death, burial, and resurrection. He now has the sin, the presence of the sin of Judas has been purged and cleaned out. Now he's going to start to teach the disciples even on a more in-depth level as to what things are all about. He reminds them that I have told you this before. I'm bringing it home that I am going to be leaving here. My death, burial, and resurrection is imminent. Verse 32, if God be glorified in him, speaking of himself, the Son of Man, God shall also glorify him in himself, and shall straightway glorify him. So now he's once again equating himself with God. Back in John chapter 10, verse 30, we looked at that. He said him and Jesus are one. And so he says, if God's going to be glorified in Jesus, God shall also glorify him. God's going to be glorified in Christ. Christ is going to glorify God in himself, and shall straightway glorify him. So he's talking about his glory, his oneness with the Father. Verse 33. Little children, yet a little while I am with you. Ye shall seek me, and as I said unto the Jews, whither I go, ye cannot come. So now I say unto you. So again, now he addresses them as little children. Strange, isn't it? They're adults. They're not little children. Or are they? Once again, is he talking about their age and their stature and their physical body? What's he talking about? spiritually. Spiritually, they were little children. They were really just beginning their journey. Is to really understanding God. And they're doing that because Jesus is giving them the understanding. So they're understanding God through Christ, much like you and I have to do. We will never understand anything really about God until we can get to the place where we get to know Jesus and understand some things about Jesus and see His work. Then we will know God. And so He's addressing them in their spiritual condition as little children. And He says, yet a little while I am with you. Short time is short. A little while I'm going to be with you. And you're going to seek me. You're going to look for me. And He did tell the Jews this at one point in time. All the way back in John chapter 7, He mentioned this to the Pharisees. He said in John chapter 7, starting in verse 34, ye shall seek me and shall not find me, and where I am, thither ye cannot come. And why did He tell the Pharisees that? That you're going to seek me and you can't find me. You won't find me. Remember why He said that to them. That's it. Because He's going to go back to their Father. They will never find Him because they didn't really want the truth. They didn't want Jesus. They weren't seeking Him at all. They were seeking Him to kill Him, but they really weren't seeking Him for who He is. And therefore, they weren't going to find Him. Remember what their response was. In verse 35 of John chapter 7, it says, then said the Jews, because they were very confused, they said, talking amongst themselves, whither will He go that we shall not find Him? Will He go and be dispersed or separated and scattered? I mean, among the Gentiles? Is He going to go to the Gentiles? Is that why we can't find Him? And He's going to teach the Gentiles? So what? They're confused. What do you mean He can't? How is He going to hide? With all His popularity, He ain't going to be able to hide very long. We'll be able to track Him down. They had no real idea about what was going on. But He says something different to the disciples. He said to the Jews, I said unto the Jews, whither I go, ye cannot come. Now He turns it around and He says to the disciples, so now I say to you, now here is going to be something different. The Jews heard one thing. They didn't like me. They don't want me. They reject me. You, on the other hand, verse 34, a new commandment I give unto you. The Jews, because they rejected me, I told them, I'm going someplace you can't come. You don't want to be there anyway. You, I'm telling you something different. I'm giving you a new commandment. Somebody knows this verse, don't they? John 13:34. Lou, take it away nice and loud.
New commandment I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this all men will know that you are my disciples if you love one another.
There it is. Jesus gives them an entirely new commandment. That ye love one another as I have loved you. That ye also love one another continually, in spite of all the other things that go on in the world. Now, in spite of your differences. Think about the crowd that the disciples He had, the 12. We don't have to run through them all, but He had fishermen. Did He not?
Yep.
Peter was a fisherman. Rough dude. Think about the character of Peter. He was a ruffian. Obnoxious, perhaps. Boisterous. Loud. Always jumping in there with, he's the guy that whipped out a sword and had to do deer off in the garden. He was always kind of out in front, outspoken. And then you had John, another fisherman. Very different person than Peter. Kind of laid back, mellow, kind of timid. Maybe because he was a fisherman, and that's really not what he wanted to do in life, but it was the family business. And the sons were expected to carry on the family business. And so you have John, mellow dude. And it kind of like was there. I mean, look at his relationship with Jesus was much different than it was with Peter. Then you have Nathaniel, the guy that said, what? No good thing comes out of Nazareth. These are the guys that Jesus picked. He picked tax collectors. The people that the Jews hated. They were Jewish people, the Jews hated them. Why? Because tax collectors were dishonest people. They would collect the taxes that the Romans required, and most of them would say, okay, you know what? I'm going to collect a little bit more because what's here is for the Romans, the rest is for me. They were ripping their own people off. Kind of like the IRS does for us. They rip us off, and they enjoy it. That's the kind of people Jesus chose to be around him. Strange bunch, isn't it? Would you choose that crowd?
Nope.
No, I wouldn't either. A lot of these guys were nowhere near alike. They didn't think alike. They might not even like each other. Because you could put a tax collector in the mix. Oh my goodness. And yet these are the guys that Jesus called out to be his closest friends, his closest disciples. And he said, here's a new commandment I'm giving you. Love one another. Wow. I mean, I gotta really love this tax collector dude? Jesus did. Do you know how much he ripped me off for last year? Are you kidding me? And then the fisherman? Have you heard his mouth? That dude's got a foul mouth. He needs a lot of toothpaste. Clean that mouth out. He stinks. I mean, really? And Jesus says, hey guys, I want you to get along. I want you to love one another. I want you to help one another because guess what, folks? I'm leaving. I'm departing soon. Very soon. They didn't realize when he meant soon, it wasn't in days, it wasn't in weeks, it wasn't in months or years, it was hours. They had no idea what was coming. And so he says, I want you to love one another as I have loved you. See, guys, I am so much different than you. You and I, we don't think alike. Hardly at all. I'm introducing you in the way in order that you really should be thinking. I'm helping you to see God. When you see me, you've seen God. I'm helping you through that. So you and I are very different. Listen, I came from above. You're from this filth earth down here. I came from above. I come from a place where there is no sin. You were born into sin. So we are very, very different. As a matter of fact, guys, you know what? You're my enemy. Because when we're born in sin, we are enemies of God. So God, Jesus, chose his enemies to be his disciples. Just like he chose us too when we were enemies. He chose us all. He wants us all to be saved. And this is the bunch. But guys, I love you. And I love you now. I love you more than you know. You don't see it tonight. Tonight you're not going to see it. But it won't be long. And you're going to see my love for you. Displayed in a broken body and flesh that's going to be torn all over the place off of my body. Blood that's going to be spilled out and poured out for you. So love one another as I have loved you. Lay down your life for each other. Verse 35. By this kind of love, shall all men, not just the chosen men, Not just a few. All men know that ye are my disciples, if ye love one another. We talk about John 12, verse 32, when Jesus said, and if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. You can see that he's talking, in one aspect, he's referring to the cross. Just like when Moses lifted up that serpent, Jesus was going to be lifted up from the earth on that cross. And he says, I'm going to draw all men unto me. But that was a one-time event. Him dying like that and laying down his life willfully was a one-time event. Today, how do we lift Jesus up? Yes, he said it in verse 34 and 35. We lift him up by his love, and by his love he will draw all men unto himself. And people, well, there won't be any doubt in people's minds that we are Jesus' disciples by how we love. People aren't going to know we're his disciples by how much we attend church. Because attending church doesn't demonstrate how much we love each other. Does it? Attending church together is a wonderful thing, and we should, and he wants us to. But if we're going to say, that's how I show my love for God, we're missing the boat. We're going to show our love for God by how we love each other, because that's what Jesus' commandment was. He didn't say, I want you to go to church all the time. Because there's a lot of people in church that don't love one another. And then people get sent away. And they get mad at God and church and Jesus. Because they get mad. You are unloving, unforgiving, have to fight about everything. The Judases. The Judases. And none of us in here tonight, I am sure, would want to confess that I betrayed Jesus. But when we don't love as he loved, we do just that. We betray Jesus because that's his commandment. And guess what? None of us are perfect at it. None of us. You're going to let me down. I'm going to let you down. I'm not going to love you the way Jesus loved you perfectly. However, when it is identified that I have it, it is up to me and my responsibility to come to you and say, I'm sorry, forgive me. Because that too is showing love. We're not holding grudges. No matter how deep the hurt, we're not holding grudges. We're not seeking vengeance. I'm going to get back at you. We're not criticizing everything we're doing. I'm sure if you look long enough, there's a lot of things you can criticize about me. And there's a lot of things I can criticize about you. But what does that accomplish other than trying to make myself out to be better than you? That's pride. It's sin. It's wrong. It's unloving. It's unloving. God wants us to be involved, helping each other through life's journey. So we can experience Jesus in such a wonderful, powerful, magnificent way. To have that life and have his life more abundantly, the thing he came to give us. Not just when we get to heaven, but right here, this very night on earth. He didn't say, oh, I'm going to give you the life abundantly when you get to heaven, when this is all over. No, no, no. He says, now, I give it to you right now. Let's seize it. Let's take it. It's there for us to take. He wants us to have it. So let's take it. Continue on this wonderful road with each other
Yeah.
Let's pray. Father, once again, thank you for your goodness, thank you for loving us, and the new commandment that you gave to these men, and that you would have us to carry out even today, that you would be lifted up through the way that we love each other, that you would draw others to you. Help us to be those lights and those vessels